Hey everyone, my name is James and I'm here today to talk about why I don't play Starbound anymore. It's something that I get asked about quite frequently, and just for a little bit of context, I actually really enjoy Starbound. I first did a Let's Play of it in June 2016 and I really enjoyed it. I thought the music was great, I thought the art style was great, I loved that you swapped worlds, I loved the bosses. So why don't I play it anymore? And it's actually pretty simple to explain, and hopefully if you're a Starbound fan yourself, you might actually connect with me and understand why I feel this way. So let's start with the actual game itself. Starbound is a very linear game. You start off in one place, you scan a few things, you fight a boss, you scan a few more things, you fly a little bit, and the game kind of repeats itself. And when you're doing your first playthrough of Starbound, that feels great. It's actually nice to have a storyline with a game like this. It's nice to have a system in place that forces you to go from one area to the next. And when you do a rerun of Starbound, the only thing that really changes is how your world generates. But essentially, you'll be doing the same thing every time you play. Now, for a lot of people, that is actually great. A lot of people love that about Starbound, but I definitely feel a little bit of struggle to actually try and replay this game because I feel like I've already done everything the game has to offer. So what I've been waiting for ever since that initial series is actually to have an update that will draw me back in and make me replay the game, because even when playing with mods, it still felt like the exact same game. I may be able to change how my character looks and have a brand new race, but I'm still kind of doing the same thing. So let's actually talk about Starbound's updates. Now, the first update after release was the 1.1 update, and it added in a pretty cool mechanic, which is fishing, and it also added in a new collection system. Now, me personally, I don't actually like fishing in video games all that much. I enjoyed it in Terraria for a little bit. I even did a series just only fishing, and it was great, but I feel like now I just don't enjoy that kind of gameplay anymore. So for a fishing update to come to Starbound, it's great for all of those players who are starting at the beginning and then can fish throughout their entire adventure. But if you've already played through the game, fishing seems kind of a little bit pointless, but that's why Starbound implemented it. It was for those players that are joining the game at that point of update. So the next update was a couple of months later, and it added in a pretty cool new feature called terraforming, and this was a machine that allowed you to change the way your world looked just using that machine. It's kind of like the Clentaminator in Terraria, but it's way more advanced. But also, you're not going to replay the game just to get that. You see, they also added in these ancient vaults, and it's a pretty cool idea in concept, but I just didn't enjoy it. So the ancient vaults are these things that you unlock at the very end of the game that unlocks a randomly generated temple for you to kind of run through. And you have a few different variations of this. You have like ice and fire, but the temple is different every single time and the enemies are different every time. But the only problem with this is that after a while, they kind of all merge into each other. When this update actually dropped, I had a lot of issues with the bosses that you find at the end. Because they had a random generation to them, I had worlds where the actual structure where you fought the boss would break the boss and you wouldn't be able to beat it. And I found that to be so frustrating that by the time they actually ironed all of that out, I just couldn't be bothered to play it anymore, if I'm being completely honest, because it feels like the stuff that you do at the very start of the game, and all it unlocks is terraforming, which is great, and you can make your sword a little bit better, and that's also great, but what are you going to use that sword on? So for me, that's not an update that's going to draw me in. Now, after this update, they actually stopped doing these nightly builds, which is essentially, if they did a little bit of work on Starbound, they would publish it to the public, which was very cool, but they stopped that. And then they released Starbound 1.3 a good couple of months later, and this added in some things that I don't actually enjoy all that much. They added in mechs, and I didn't really enjoy the gameplay, if I'm being completely honest. I tried to get into Starbound again just to use the mechs, and I wasn't enjoying it. And then they also revamped space travel, and if I'm being honest, I kind of preferred it how it was. I don't know, I think it's because I've got a little bit of nostalgia for how it used to be, or because I'm just not used to the new system. So it felt strange to replay the game just to enjoy that travel system when I kind of wasn't enjoying it anyway. So I've had my eyes set on the next update for Starbound for quite some time now, version 1.4. Now, this has had a very rocky development so far. It was originally going to be about adding a bounty system to Starbound, which sounded cool, but even when I read that, I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to replay Starbound for that. So what they actually did was, a good couple of months after not talking about it, they decided to completely scrap the update, like 1.4 isn't coming, and that's how it was for a very long time. And then recently, like this week, they actually announced, yeah, we're hiring new people, we're going to make Starbound 1.4, and I want that update to be the update that brings me back in. I would love if they just added something to the very middle of the game, maybe a new boss, maybe some mini bosses, maybe some extra things that you can find on worlds that aren't just little generated structures and stuff. But that essentially is why I don't play Starbound anymore. I really do enjoy Starbound though. I do think it's a good game, and not every game has to be replayed 50 times like I do with Terraria, and I completely understand that. So that's why I'm not mad at it, or I think that it needs to be something completely different. If it's happy being a story game, I'm cool with that. Right, so hopefully that answers the question, and I didn't ramble on too long. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.